Hi, my name is Jordan Fuller, and this is my presentation on the Students First Act of 2011. So the objectives for this is to cover what is the Students First Act of 2011, who's covered versus not covered, what is protected, non-renewals and terminations, reassignments and transfers, terminations, and the certificate actions that can be taken, suspensions and partial cancellations, and reduction in force. So, the purpose of this whole act, the Students First Act of 2011, it changed how teacher discipline and employment decisions are handled in public schools, and it was effective July 1, 2011. It improved public education efficiency, strengthened school district control over personnel decisions, also simplified the teacher dismissal and discipline process while reducing legal appeals and teacher termination cases. The key changes that took place when this act went into place is that it replaced teacher tenure and the Fair Dismissal Act. It gave school boards more authority in the hiring and firing process and reduced the role of outside hearing officers. So, the Students First Act of 2011 covers classroom teachers, instructional personnel who are also licensed educators, principals and assistant principals, and some classified employees. Not covered are superintendents, they're on their own contract, temporary substitute employees, employees outside of public K 12 systems, so private schools, for example, and certain central office employees. So, what is protected? So, all of the people that were covered are protected with this protection from unjust discipline or termination, right to due process, which is more streamlined than it was, but they still do have that right, protection against arbitrary decisions, protection of contractual rights. So, if you sign a contract that you're somewhere, they cannot mess with that, and anti discrimination protections. So, non-renewal versus termination. I didn't really know the difference between this, so this was interesting. Non-renewal, they're usually not yet tenured, so in Alabama, 3 years or less. School is not required to prove just cause for a non-renewal. It can be for performance concerns. It can be for budget reduction, like getting cut units, and it's treated as an employment decision instead of firing. So it's more like you're not going to be invited to come back next year. Your year has been, completed and you fulfilled your duties and you're not invited back. Termination is when a teacher is fired before a contract ends or after gaining tenure. So this is like after the 3-year mark. District must show legal reasons. So there's a reason, then there's a lot of documentation that goes behind this from the school administration. They do have a right to a hearing before the school board, and they also have the right to appeal this decision and formal disciplinary action with due process rights. Reassignments and transfers. So, reassignment is a move of an employee to a different position in the same school. So, say, for example, the third grade teacher is getting moved to third grade, or a third grade math teacher is getting moved to a math coach in that school. Transfer is a move of an employee to a different school or location. So, a couple of years ago, when Florence had K-6 go for all the elementary schools, teachers had the decision to transfer to different schools if administration approved it. The Students First Act gives boards and superintendents broad authority to reassign or transfer employees based on staffing needs, enrollment changes, budget changes, school improvement plans, and administrative discretion. This makes transfers a lot harder to challenge. So if someone doesn't want to transfer, they cannot really challenge it because they still have a job in the system and usually on the same pay scale, if not more. So employees still get a written notice of reassignment or transfer with the reason and, like I said, limited opportunity to challenge. If it is unlawful, then they can challenge that decision. School boards do not need to prove just cause for a transfer or reassignment. This also cannot be used as a punishment to discriminate, violate contractual guarantees, or act in an arbitrary way. And then under this act, reassignments and transfers allow an increase in administrative flexibility, quicker responses to enrollment shifts, staffing shortages, and school performance needs while reducing legal challenges. So, like the example I used earlier, when Florence went K-6 for all elementary schools, this let some shifts happen without it being such a huge ordeal. So you put in the paperwork for a transfer, both administrators agree to it, and then the board approves it, and it's done. So the certification actions are separate from terminations, but they kind of follow the same procedures, or they follow back to back with each other. Certification action is the formal step that can affect a teacher's teaching certification and license to work in Alabama public schools. So the certification can be affected by immorality or unethical behavior, criminal conduct, abuse or neglect of students, fraud, falsification of records, severe insubordination, and professional incompetence, just to name a few, but those are the general ideas. There are 5 different actions that can be taken on one certificate. So revocation is permanent removal. Suspension is a temporary loss. It can range from months to years. Denial of renewal, so their certificate does not get renewed. Teachers have to renew theirs every 5 years. Probation, so you have conditions placed upon you before your certification can get renewed. And reprimand is a formal warning on record. So if you get multiple of these and it's on record, then it leads to one of the other actions. Under the Students First Act, a teacher may be terminated by the school system and separately referred to the State Department of Education. And then from there, the State Department decides if they want to take action on that certificate. So it is separate from a termination. One does not mean the other, but you get terminated if the school system feels like this person should never teach or be in a school again. Then they file with the Department of Education. And there's also a due process. So notice of allegations, opportunity to respond, hearing before the state superintendent or officer, and then they also have the right to appeal that decision. Suspensions. When a teacher is temporarily removed from duties with or without pay for insubordination, neglect of duty, unprofessional conduct, policy violations, allegations requiring immediate removal. So this is what you see on TV all the time when teachers or principals, admin, whoever are placed on administrative leave. They are on a suspension. Pending investigation is a type of suspension. So removed from their duties and teaching with pay until the investigation is over. So a third party and the school system take part in investigation to decide, are they guilty, not guilty of this crime? Should we let them back in the school? And then disciplinary suspension is punishment after misconduct is proven. So if something is proved to be happening, the school system can decide to suspend that person for however long, and it is usually without pay. So partial cancellation and reduction in force, or RIF, refers to staffing cuts or position reductions when a school system needs to reduce personnel due to budget, enrollment, program changes. This is like getting units cut. RIF, reduction in force, district-wide or school-wide decrease in the number or employees, usually due to declining enrollment, budget cuts, loss of funding, and program elimination. Partial cancellation is the elimination of part of someone's contract or position. So, reduction in hours, assignment, removal of specific duties or grade levels. The school board has the authority to decide which positions are necessary and eliminate or reduce positions and make staffing decisions. So, if they want to consolidate a job, they can do so. These options are not disciplinary terminations. So, the bottom line that I've gathered is that this act, the Students First Act of 2011, prioritizes student outcomes and local school control by streamlining employee discipline processes while still preserving basic due process rights for educators. It has streamlined a lot of the processes, which I think most school leaders can appreciate. When a teacher is there for the right reasons and is promoting education in your school. And if you see something wrong, you can fix that. So thank you.